Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. This is going to be a video a lot of you don't like, and that's fine. I'm not saying the Pacers are going to do this. This is just something I've been thinking a lot about since I found out that the Pacers legally can't extend Myles Turner, and the signing of James Wiseman and stuff like that. I kind of want to just give my honest thoughts on the situation. Part of me feels like the organization has done this on purpose. And this is going to be hard for fans to understand as well. It's even for me, it seems kind of slimy by the front office. I'm not going to lie. I've never been enamored with Myles Turner. He's never been a guy that has really jumped off the page to me as far as a guy that I think could be an all-star, or he's always been good, but he's never been great. And ever since Myles Turner was acquired, they gave him a chance, it seems, and I would say he's been on the trading block for easily the last, 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. I mean, this is a guy that the front office has been trying to get rid of. I understand he has been very, very loyal to the Pacers organization. They did pay him a boatload of money with this last contract extension, where they front-loaded it and paid him like $37 million or some crazy astronomical number like that. They gave him like $17 million more than what he was worth to renegotiate his contract. The Pacers were in a situation where their back was against the wall, and they needed to do something with that money in order to, I think, not get penalized, or like they had $17 million they absolutely had to use, and they decided we're going to give it to Myles. At the time, I didn't understand the direction of the franchise. I didn't really understand what the purpose was. Myles is 28 years old, and Pascal Siakam is 31. Don't quote me on that, or at least he's I think 30 years old. I know Pascal Siakam is in the 30 years old ballpark range. I'm looking right now, actually. Pascal Siakam's 30. He'll be 30, I think, this upcoming year. I'm not sure when his birth date is. But Pascal Siakam is the oldest player on the team, and Myles Turner, being 28, is the second oldest player on the team outside of James Johnson. And James Johnson's 37. He's not really a guy that we expect to play, so I kind of just leave him out of it. But we have an incredibly young team. And I with the signing of James Wiseman, I've always thought the Pacers want to get rid of Myles Turner. Rebounding has been such a fucking nightmare for this team that it seems almost as if the front office is desperate. I mean, desperate to find a center that can give them a double-double. Granted, Myles Turner was better this past year after trading for Pascal Siakam. And I still think the front office is at the very least going to give him a chance to see what we can do up until the trade deadline, depending on where the team is record-wise. And a lot of this is going to depend on where the team's record is come the trade deadline. If we're a below 500 team, Myles Turner is more than likely getting traded. Him, and probably they'll package him with somebody, maybe Obi Toppin, maybe, I would hate this, but Andrew Nembhard. Even the trade I'm going to discuss in this video, Andrew Nembhard and Myles for this particular player would be a fucking nightmare. I hope the Pacers don't do that. But I could see a package of like Myles Turner and Obi Toppin for this player and someone else, and that particular player is on the Portland Trailblazers. and that is DeAndre Ayton. And I know that people are going to get in the comments and say, like, before you lose your fucking mind, I know what everybody's going to say. Oh, DeAndre Ayton's not that good. He rebounds on the same level as Myles, and he's, he puts up the same yada, 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 yada. I've heard it all, man. I've heard it so many fucking times. Don't even bother, okay? Like, the only reason I bring this up is because there are not a lot of centers around the league that are even tradable. And the reason I feel like DeAndre Ayton is tradable is because he's 26. He's 26 years old. He's still relatively young in basketball years. He's got 4 years left till he reaches 30. He wants to play with Tyrese Halliburton. We know that. We know that, he was going to come to us in free agency, but the thing is, he was a restricted free agent. And I feel like the front office, being that they already made a run at, like, this has nothing, like, I want people on, this has nothing to do with me wanting DeAndre Ayton, okay? This has everything to do with the front office and what I've seen and what their actions have been. Because they already offered DeAndre Ayton a max contract one time, okay? They obviously like something about DeAndre Ayton. And honestly, James Wiseman at his peak is maybe DeAndre Ayton. You know what I'm saying? And what we've seen, like, and that's after years of development with the Pacers. That's not even, like, immediate. You know what I'm saying? Like when he's, like, if he becomes everything we think he's going to become with the Indiana Pacers, James Wiseman's peak is probably DeAndre Ayton. And the Pacers seem to be enamored with players like that. They seem to be absolutely fascinated in centers like James Wiseman, like DeAndre Ayton, who are arguably the same type of center, DeAndre Ayton is a guy who, granted, doesn't shoot threes that great, but he can step out and make them from time to time. He has a mid-range jumper. He bangs around the basket. I would argue James Wiseman is maybe a little bit better at defense than DeAndre Ayton, but DeAndre Ayton still, like, the way that they play, you know what I'm saying? James Wiseman is, like, great value DeAndre Ayton, you know what I'm saying? If you're talking about just the way that they play the games, right? Not from a skill perspective, just what they do, what their habits are. And for whatever reason, the front office seems to really like DeAndre Ayton. I think, I'm going to say this, I think DeAndre Ayton has had a shitty hand dealt to him. I understand he was on a team that went to the NBA Finals, and people are going to bring up that he gave up on his team or that Monty Williams benched him and what have you. But the thing is, Monty Williams has been a coach that players don't like, okay? Other than Chris Paul. And most players don't fucking like Chris Paul. You know what I'm saying? So the idea that, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's like, for whatever reason, Monty Williams and CP3 seem to have a similar play style or coaching style or perspective of the game that players don't like. And same thing with DeAndre Ayton. Didn't like Chris Paul that much, it seemed. He didn't like Monty Williams, right? And we saw what Monty Williams did in Detroit. He didn't even try to fucking develop that team. I firmly believe Monty Williams was trying to fucking lose, okay? Then DeAndre Ayton gets traded to the Portland Trail Blazers, right? And he goes there. And he's no longer like even a third or fourth option. He's now more like the fifth or sixth option behind, Jeremy Grant, Scoot Henderson, who they were putting the ball in his hands, Malcolm Brogdon, Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, okay? And then you get to DeAndre Ayton. And I'm just going to call it what it is. There's been games where DeAndre Ayton has been on the floor and almost all of those guys have been fucking injured with the exception of one or two of them. And DeAndre Ayton has looked like a 20 and 10 guy. A 20 and 10 guy who can go out and average you maybe one or two blocks a game. So I don't really I'm not buying what everybody else is selling, that DeAndre Ayton is a bad center. I simply think DeAndre Ayton has been put in situations where nobody's even tried to make him a second or third option, you know? And if he were, metaphorically, to come to Indiana, I almost think he would be an immediate second piece, maybe third piece next to Tyrese Halliburton. Actually, no, never mind. We have Pascal Siakam. Scratch that. But he would be like a third or fourth option on our team behind Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, and DeAndre Ayton, and or Ben Mathurin or Andrew Nembhard or whoever, right? He'd be stepping into basically a similar situation as the Portland Trailblazers. But the thing is, okay, while we have Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton, for whatever reason, I feel like the front office is going to try to make a move for DeAndre Ayton. I don't know why, I just do. I feel like they know that Portland wants to free up salary cap room. They just got rid of Malcolm Brogdon for Denny Avdia and the 14th overall pick in this past draft. They also drafted a center and Donovan Killing. I'm gonna say this wrong, but the center who played for fucking UConn. What's his name? Hold on, let me find it. It's Donovan. They don't even have his name pronounced. Donovan Clingan. Okay. Actually, he was the 7th overall pick. Never mind. So who did they take at 14? All right. Either way, they drafted a 7'2" center with the 7th overall pick in the draft, which means they're probably going to be trading DeAndre Ayton. Now, you can think what you want about DeAndre Ayton, but the other part of me thinks if the front office is this enticed by DeAndre Ayton, they see something in him that everybody else doesn't. And I don't know what that is, okay? I might have to watch some film. I don't know if it's the way he sets screens or him just being a lob threat or what the deal is. But for whatever reason, for the past X amount of years, Myles Turner has always been on the trade block. And they seem to have been I think they just want a better post playing center. The thing is, though, now that we have Pascal Siakam, I don't know how well DeAndre Ayton really fits next to him. You know what I'm saying? However, when Pascal Siakam was acquired, right, Myles Turner became more of a post-playing center. I know that sounds fucking crazy to tell you, but there's a reason Myles Turner's three-point percentages dropped from shooting 36-37% from 3 down to 33%. I mean, I'm pretty sure Myles Turner took significantly less three-point attempts a game than he did in the past. I'm very curious as to how many he took last season now, because I'm curious now. So I want to go to Myles Turner, and Myles Turner on three-point attempts. Actually, he took about 4. Okay, yeah, he took about the same amount. Never mind. About 4 3-pointers a game. Actually, Myles Turner played 77 games for the Pacers this past year. That is fucking wild. But he shot 35, almost 36%. Most of the year, though, he shot 33% from 3. But the thing is, Myles Turner has also taken a step back defensively. Myles Turner, this is the first year he averaged less than 2 blocks a game since he was 21. He's averaged 1.9 this past year, which is still good. You know, we'll say it's 2 blocks a game. But the thing is, if you're considering trading for DeAndre Ayton, and I'm just saying, I feel like this is the direction the front office is going to take. Don't quote me for it. It's what I think they're going to do, because they seem to be, historically, they seem to be really interested in him, and the Portland Trailblazers seem to be looking to maybe get rid of him. I just feel like if we traded for DeAndre Ayton, it's not like his position on the floor wouldn't be that much different than what Myles Turner did the whole second half of the season. Now, I will say this. Myles is a better three-point shooter. Myles is a better, I think he stretches the floor better than DeAndre Ayton does. And in the playoffs, Myles Turner went fucking nuclear. I like, there was a couple games dude just took over. And you know what? Myles has gained a lot of respect from me in that regard. In the playoffs, he this past season, he showed a lot. Like, he showed up when I think one or two games where a lot of other guys didn't. But the front office appears to be adamant. I would say adamant about moving Myles Turner. I feel like they've kind of put up with Myles Turner for a while because they had no way of getting rid of him. They think the trade market for him sucks. And I would say it does suck. I think if the Pacers could trade Myles Turner, they would have by now. And this is just my honest opinion, man. Like, I don't want people to get pissed, that, like, I'm speaking my mind on this, but I can't help but feel like at the trade deadline, because DeAndre Ayton's contract for this year is specifically worth $33.4 million. We signed a lot of guys to extensions that are going to be trade eligible by the time the trade deadline starts, murking its ugly head around. I really feel like that's the guy they're going to target, because all the other teams that have centers are not looking to give them up, other than maybe the Chicago Bulls. And honestly, do you think the Chicago Bulls are going to give us Nikola Vucevic for like Myles Turner? You know what I'm saying? And because and really that's not much different. You know what I'm saying? Nikola Vucevic is not a guy that I look at and go, yeah, that like he changes our whole fucking dynamic. Neither does DeAndre Ayton really, but DeAndre Ayton is significantly younger than Nikola Vucevic, and he's even younger than Myles Turner. So that's the one thing he has going for him, and I feel like the front office is probably going to look at that and go, we know Ayton wants to play with Halliburton. Carlisle's a good coach. Carlisle can find a way to make him work. We signed Wiseman, and he could be maybe a decent mentor for Wiseman. I just can't help but feel like the front office maybe won't even offer Myles a contract in free agency. I feel like they extended Myles to 2 years, understanding that they won't be able to extend him. And I don't want to say that the front office has taken advantage of Myles Turner's loyalty, but it kind of feels that way. It kind of feels like, Myles Turner's, and they've paid him. Don't get me wrong. They've, 2 years, $60 million, and they front loaded his contract to give him an ass ton of money. Granted, it came kind of like side-eyed because they needed to get rid of the money. It's kind of almost like they gave him the money because they had nothing else to do with it. And that's why I'm saying this. It just feels like, even though Myles has been incredibly loyal to Indiana, the front office has done nothing but try to get rid of him. They paid him just because they had extra money that they didn't know what to do with. And they even signed him to an extension worth 2 years, $60 million, understanding that he was going to enter unrestricted free agency without them legally being able to extend him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like the front office is really, really adamant about moving on from Myles Turner. I know they haven't said it, and their actions would prove otherwise, but when you pull the curtain back and you look at it, you go, well, we know Myles Turner wasn't worth that $17 million bonus they gave him, and then they extended him to a 2-year contract, understanding that they couldn't legally extend him again, which opens the door for an even bigger reason to trade him. And they know Portland, after they just drafted Donovan Clingan, that they might be willing to get rid of DeAndre Ayton, even though they just traded for him. They traded Jusuf Nurkic for him. And we know that Portland is looking to free up cap space. We know that they're maybe looking to unload Jeremy Grant. And if they're looking to unload Jeremy Grant, odds are they're going to be looking to unload DeAndre Ayton as well, because he simply just doesn't fit much of their timeline. He's 26, but if you can get Donovan Clingan more minutes and, put Shaedon Sharpe out there and Scoot Henderson and Donovan Clingan, and let them grow together, why would you keep DeAndre Ayton around? You know what I'm saying? I would even argue at that point, why would you keep Anthony Simons around? Why would you keep Jeremy Grant around? Why would you keep the guys on your team that are like north of 25 years old around if they don't fit your timeline, really? How old is Denny Avdia? I think Denny Avdia, I think, is pretty young. I could be wrong about that, but I know they just traded for Denny Avdia. That was more so a salary dump move than anything, but Denny Avdia is still, I think, a relatively young player. Yeah, Denny Avdia is 23, man. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, the Portland Trailblazers are looking to get younger. They're looking to get better at defense. They're looking to free up cap space. And to me, if push comes to shove, if the Pacers offered Myles Turner and Obi Toppin for DeAndre Ayton, I kind of think the Trailblazers do it. That's all I'm saying. So obviously this is all speculation. I'm just humoring you guys with my bullshit. Obviously off season's a little fucking slow at this point. But I did want to talk about this because it seems like for a long time the Pacers have been trying to get rid of Myles Turner. And even when they do good by Myles Turner, it seems like, it's a side-eyed compliment. You know what I'm saying? And I can't say I don't understand why, because I've been saying it for years. I waited like 7-8 years to see the Myles Turner that I saw last season. So who knows? Maybe if he continues that through the second half of this upcoming season, maybe they reconsider. Maybe when he goes into unrestricted free agency, they just offer him a bonkers fucking contract. I don't know. But the thing is, Myles Turner's never really been a double-double guy. And I think that the front office would like to have a more solidified center that's capable of getting them maybe 20 and 10 at that center position. Now, I don't know if they're actually going to get that out of DeAndre Ayton, being that you got a lot of mouths to feed on that offense now. You have Tyrese Haliburton, who would have to be more of a facilitator than a scorer. And I actually think the team is better when he's more of a facilitator and not a scorer, when he averages like 20 and 10 instead of putting up just 40 with 40 and 6. Pascal Siakam's a guy that I think is a guy they're going to have to feed more. But then if you get somebody like DeAndre Ayton, it also takes a little bit of the pressure off of Pascal Siakam in the post. And even though Myles Turner was also able to do that by stretching the floor a little bit, and having Andrew Nembhard out there helps, and we're going to have Ben Mathurin back. So I really don't know how, if they traded for DeAndre Ayton, how they would fit him into the rotation. But I feel like my gut feeling is that he's the guy that makes the most sense if we're going to trade Myles Turner for anybody. Because I'm just going to say this. The Pacers cannot trade Myles Turner without getting another center back. Unless James Wiseman becomes fucking amazing, and that's very unlikely considering he's going to be the bench center for us for most of the upcoming year. So if the Pacers do trade Myles Turner at the deadline, they do need to try to get a center back. And the only guy I look at that seems to be available that maybe makes any sense and fits our timeline is DeAndre Ayton. So I know there's Pacers fans that don't want to hear that, but the fact of the matter is he seems to be the only guy that makes any sense. And all the other guys that would maybe make sense are guys that other teams are not willing to move off of. And I know there's going to be people who are going to be like, oh, well, DeAndre Ayton makes a shit ton of money. Well, honestly, after I know he signed that contract 1 or 2 years ago, DeAndre Ayton's contract is considered a fucking bargain contract now by NBA standards, okay? Like, when you consider the idea that, what Jaylen Brown is making and what fucking Jason Tatum's making and even what Sabonis is making. Sabonis is making $40 million plus. It's just, when you look around the league, guys that are making $30 million are kind of like bargain contracts. That's about what those guys are worth. You could make an argument that DeAndre Ayton's maybe not worth 33, maybe he's worth 28 or 30, but the thing is, he's one of the only centers in the league that I'm assuming is going to be available at the trade deadline, and the Pacers now have enough stuff between Myles Turner and Obi Toppin to make that happen. And really, if we did do that trade, the only thing that the Trailblazers would be interested in is Obi Toppin. And the reason I say that is because they already have Donovan Clingan, and Donovan Clingan seems to be the guy, after watching him in Summer League, like this is a guy that I think they're going to want to move forward with. If Myles Turner enters free agency, they're not going to extend him. Okay, they're not. Somebody else is going to sign Myles Turner, and or they're going to someone else is going to make a run at him, and Portland's not going to want him. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Portland tries to flip him. I don't know, but I do know Portland's looking to do salary dumps. That's what they're looking to get rid of Jeremy Grant. And if they're looking to get rid of Jeremy Grant, they're definitely looking to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. So that's my argument. I just hit 25 minutes. Did not expect to talk for this long. But tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.